Hello all. Today we're going to take a brief detour into literary criticism to talk about Mary Shelley, one of the most important writers in the English language. Does that description seem strange to you? Well, that's a very real problem. I initially decided to do this video because my female viewership is terrible. But the more I researched this, the angrier I got. When I first studied Mary Shelley in high school, she was introduced to me as the wife of great poet Percy Shelley, and the writer of Frankenstein. This information is interesting and helps us learn about her, but should her husband really be the first thing we mention? Percy also shows up in that crucial first paragraph on Wikipedia, 2 out of 3 sentences of which are about who Mary was related to. If you look at Percy's first paragraph, Mary does get a mention, but only after 2 sentences about how awesome he was, and after the fact that Percy used to hang out with Lord Byron and some other dudes. The impression I got in high school, and the impression you could still get today reading Wikipedia, is that Percy is the really important Shelley, and Mary got lucky with a novel. This is all out of whack. Let's look at Percy first. As Wikipedia says, he was a great poet, and a significant figure in the history of English letters and ideas. He did write one poem I had heard of before researching him.
Look on my works, ye mighty, and despair.
It's a pretty cool poem. Later poets, and some other historical figures, were apparently big fans. So yeah, a historically significant guy, but not a ton of contemporary relevance. Let's look at Mary Shelley. Well, first there's Frankenstein, a figure that has caught the imagination of generations of readers and moviegoers, and is one of the most potent modern myths we have. Almost 200 years later, barely a year goes by without someone trying to reinvent this tale in some new form. Beyond that, there is the question of what Frankenstein is. It has a very good claim to being the first science fiction novel ever. Mad science, ungovernable forces, human knowledge taking us farther than it should, all of these elements in popular culture were given to us by Mary Shelley. If this were just a one-off, it would be super impressive. But it turns out she also invented apocalyptic fiction with a novel called The Last Man. When people talk about the birth of science fiction, they often talk about Jules Verne and H.G. Wells, 2 very impressive writers. But they were writing 50 to 100 years after Mary Shelley. Science fiction sells a lot of books. Beyond that, it is the genre of 5 of the 10 highest-grossing films of all time. The invention of a genre this powerful should place Mary Shelley with the all-time greats. Instead, she's still described first as a wife. If there were any justice in the world, we'd know Percy Shelley mostly as Mary Shelley's husband. Thanks for watching. Please subscribe.